What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another late night in the BrewLab with me, Lone Fox, your Brewmaster-in-Chief. And tonight, in the BrewLab, I'm coming at you with a Gruul modified list. It's funny, I went and had a look back in my, history of videos on the channel, and I realized I had not put up a Gruul modified video yet. And I think what had happened was at some point I was just about to, and then sort of Hello Good Game, CGB, and a bunch of the other bigger content creators all came out with their own one, and I just didn't want to appear like a copycat. And so I overlooked it and went on to bigger and greater things. But now that we're at this kind of end of the season, the format is entirely solved. There's just a bunch of mono white, aggro, and all of its flavors. It's always just the same stuff. Luminarch, Aspirant, Talia, Elite Spellbinder, Redain, Skyclave Apparition, Brutal Cathar, with, splashing red or splashing green, and you get a little bit of slightly different variants, but ultimately it's exactly the same cards over and over and over again. And if you're not playing against one of those, it's usually going to be Naya Runes. So things are definitely very, very stale right now, and it's just terribly frustrating to run up against the same decks over and over again. But we're just about to get some new cards, so that's finally looking like it would, it's going to be over. And this Gruul list does beat on those decks, at least about 55% of the time. So I don't think it's, I'm a bit surprised that less people are playing something like this. So without further ado, let's jump into tonight's brew, calling it Wham Bam, because it is pretty quick. And it's an interesting one because when you dive into the details here, and by the way, how much do we hate the fact that you need to scroll down here and they just wasted all of this space? It's terrible. This layout is terrible. But anyway, it does say here that we've only got 16 creatures, 22 non-creatures. But then when you go and actually look at it, it's because we've got Kumano faces Kakkazan, which counts as an enchantment but ends up being a creature. We've got Ranger class, which counts as an enchantment but poops out a creature. And then we've got Jugan defends the temple, which again counts as an enchantment but ends up being a creature. So in actual fact, we've got 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 creatures in the deck, and then the rest is, fight spells and various types of interaction. So, we'll do the usual, take it from the top, describe the deck from left to right. I'll try and describe why it is that I've picked the card to fit into the deck, how it is that it'll synergize with the other cards, and then, we'll jump into some gameplay footage, hopefully not run into, all the aforementioned terrors of the meta, and but I'll do my best to illustrate the various playlines and interactions that I'm about to describe, and then we will jump back into the deck at the end with my final thoughts, potential deck upgrades, and definitely sort of a overall review of the Gruul modified archetype. So we've got 3 copies. There's a lot of these 3-3-3-3-3 because they're all really good cards that I think deserve a spot in the deck, and when I do like this with 3-3-3-3, then it usually ends up being that I'll cut one down to 2 and the other one to 4 based on which is the one that's performing best during tonight's gameplay footage. And of course, as usual, those modifications will be reflected in the deck list that you can find in the video description down below. So Kumano faces Kakkazan in a modified deck makes absolutely perfect sense. Not only do you start away straight off with a little bit of damage, which is always nice, and if they do have a Planeswalker down, when you do play this later in the game, you can occasionally pick off the odd Planeswalker. But the real juice is the second chapter, when whenever you cast a creature on top of the second chapter of Kumano faces Kakkazan, it enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it, and you're off to the races. So I really like dropping a Goro-Goro on top of on top of Kumano, and then it comes into play as a 3/3, and that's pretty nice. But there's turns where the mana doesn't line up, and you might need to drop like a Rockfall Vale first or something like that. Then I like to then go turn 2, something like Swarm Shambler, then Kumano, so that you can then play a 3-drop on top of your chapter 2 of Kumano, namely either Kodama or Oran-Rief Ooze, and that is fan-freaking-tastic. But yeah, then the third chapter comes back as the Etchings of Kumano, which is great because it is a static ability that whenever a creature that is dealt by a source you control would die, it gets exiled instead. So you can do away with some of the death triggers that you might run into, something like Shambling Ghast, Eye Twitch, getting the Learn, all that sort of stuff. If they need to block for whatever reason, or if you've got some of your removal, which there's quite a bit of, then it doesn't die, it gets exiled instead, and that's fantastic. Then we've got 3 copies of the Swarm Shambler. I thought this would just be a nice, easy way to give our modified creatures a little bit of extra protection. It's not really protection, but if the opponent does target them, we at least get a little insect out of it. And we can grow it with our leftover mana if we need to, by paying 1 colorless. You can tap it, put a +1/+1 counter on it. And it's just a straightaway modified creature that we can get all of the benefits that we have in the deck from having modified creatures. Namely, the Thundering Raiju, when it attacks, deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of modified creatures you control. And then, of course, you can put those +1/+1 counters wherever it is that they need to go, so that that damage just keeps getting more and more and more. Also, the backside of Jugan Defends the Temple, the Remnant of the Rising Star, this Dragon Spirit, which gives the deck a little bit of flying, which is really, really nice. Gains +5/+5 and trample as long as you have 5 or more modified creatures on the battlefield. So this is just a nice, easy way of, like, you just play a 1-drop, boom, that's instantly a modified creature because it comes into play with a +1/+1 counter on it, and other things like that. So really nice. Oh yeah, and of course the Kami's Flare and Flame Discharge, which are 2 of our removal spells, care about having modified creatures on the board early. So I thought Swarm Shambler would be a great idea, but what I'm already starting to think is we'll probably end up doing something like that, because Kumano is just a lot better, I think, because it has haste and all that sort of stuff when it comes down. Then we've got full playset of Tamiyo Safekeeping, guys. I know you've been playing this game just as much as me over the last couple of months, and you all know that Wandering Emperor is a serious problem. Brutal Cathar, Vanishing Verse. I mean, if you're playing any sort of deck that is has mono-colored creatures like this is, except for Halana and Alena, then this Vanishing Verse is going to take out all your creatures. There's also loads of sweepers, you name it. Tamiyo Safekeeping not only gives your creature hexproof, but also indestructible. So even though it would appear as if something like a Snakeskin Veil would be the better choice, because it's modifying your creatures when you cast it on them, and you get a hexproof, it doesn't give indestructible, so it won't save you from a sweeper. Whereas Tamiyo Safekeeping might just do that. If it's not Meatuk Massacre, well, there's just like a lot of really strong control cards right now, and I am quite happy to say that the new set that's coming, Streets of New Capenna, has a lot of good aggro support, and it should sort of balance the equation a little bit, I hope, because right now it's a tough place to be for these poor creature decks. Next up, we've got 3 copies of Flame Discharge. We've seen this in all my modified lists of late, Boros and what have you. Flame Discharge is great, because even if you have just 1 Swarm Shambler on the battlefield, for example, you can pay 1 red mana, so X is 0, and still do 2 damage. And then you can scale that up, so you can always get rid of creatures that are bigger than the mana that you actually have available, because you'll always do that additional 2 damage if you've got a modified creature on the battlefield. So this can potentially just kind of kill anything. So it's my nod towards something like Righteous Valkyrie, or there's plenty of creatures with 4 toughness that Kami's Flare won't be able to deal with. We have Flame Discharge to handle that. Then we've got 3 copies of Goro-Goro, Disciple of Ryusei, and I have not played this card enough, and it's taking the place of Reckless Stormseeker, being able to give a thing that's just, the things that have entered the battlefield haste that turn is really, really important in a deck like this. And I wanted to run Jugan and the Oran-Rief Ooze in the 3-drop slot, because they synergize really well with the Ranger class, and I'll get to that in a second. So I didn't have enough space in the 3-drop slot to also run Reckless Stormseeker to give my, stuff that just enters the battlefield haste. And so Goro-Goro is going to be filling that slot for us. Unfortunately, we cannot have multiples on the battlefield because it is legendary, but it does have this nice little upside. If we eventually get to that point in the game, we can attack first. You can unfortunately only activate this ability when you're attacking. But if you have a modified creature in one of those attackers, then you can pay 5, 3 colorless, 2 white, 2 red, and you make this 5/5 Dragon Spirit. I've yet to get it to go off. The type of deck that this is doesn't really get to, the point where you can do this, which will probably be something like around turn 6 or so. Usually the game's over by then. But it is just something to keep note of. If it does go that long, you might be able to have this extra little bit of survivability by pooping out this nice chunky 5/5 flyer. Next up, Kami's Flare. Instant speed, 3 damage, target creature, planeswalker, and I love the extra little bit of reach. It sometimes just wins you the game. They finally get that blockers up in the way of your attackers, and you can no longer attack anymore. You top deck a Kami's Flare, and you can go 2 damage to the face. Even though it's not getting rid of the creature that you're targeting with Kami's Flare, the 2 damage that it does to face wins you the game. And if that doesn't do it, there's also the Thundering Raiju's ability, which can often, you just, all you need to do is attack. And even though they might have blockers and things, doesn't matter, because now you've just gone face with the damage from Thundering Raiju. So those little bit of reach is always fantastic in these type of aggro decks that sometimes just end up getting stonewalled by, a board that goes too wide or too tall. Then we've gone for 3 copies of Ranger class, and this is another one of those situations like I have here with Kumano. As you can see, it's just 3 drops all the way down. We're going to eventually try and settle on like one that's a 4 of, and others that are 2 ofs and things like that. But so far it's been okay, just as a bunch of 3 ofs. It's not my usual building style. It's a little bit less consistent with the cards, but it just sort of makes it that every top deck is quite nice. So we might end up leaving it like this. We'll have to see. But Ranger class, of course, fantastic in a modified deck. Whenever it enters the battlefield, first of all, you get a nice little wolf, but then level 2, whenever you attack, you put a +1/+1 counter on a target attacking creature. This synergizes really, really nicely with Oran-Rief Ooze. It's an old synergy. Oran-Rief Ooze has been around for a while, but it's also whenever you attacks trigger, so then you would be able to put the counter from Ranger class on whichever creature of yours does not yet have a counter on it, and then Oran-Rief Ooze will still trigger afterwards. You'll order your triggers in such a way that the Oran-Rief one goes off after, and so then you can, put an additional +1/+1 counter on all of your attacking creatures with Oran-Rief Ooze, which is amazing. This card is so fun in this deck. It makes it really kind of pop more than anything that I could have imagined, because it's like the whole team just gets ching extra 1 counter ching every turn. And if you're coupling that with Alena and Alena that we have here at the top end, it starts to get really out of control. So I hope to showcase that for you guys in tonight's gameplay footage. And again, we might end up doing I might end up doing something like this, or leave it as a 2/2, and risk the chance of getting either one of them a little bit less. Same goes for these. Like, I don't know. They're all good cards, and I was really struggling to figure out which deserved a 4 of and a 2 of and a what of. So I've just cheated a little bit and put 3 ofs of everything, and that should give us an idea of which is the card that performs best, and then we'll make some adjustments along the way. The mana base, before we get into that, do I need to say anything? Well, Arni Slays the Troll is a nice little saga, which is a little bit underplayed in my opinion, allowing us to get a little bit of life gain. I did initially have the Inscription of Abundance in here instead of Arni Slays the Troll, but it's a fun little card I want to test out again. It's a fight spell on the first chapter, then it ramps you and put counters on things, which is great in a modified deck on the second chapter, and then the third chapter you gain life equal to the greatest power among creatures you control, so sometimes can really stabilize the game for you against mono white and that sort of stuff. We've touched upon Jugan. It's also ramp. The front side is really nice. You get a little monk token, which can give you an additional green mana the following turn. Then you put 2 +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures, and so again helping out with Oran-Rief Ooze and all of the synergies, of course. Like we want those counters on everything as quickly as possible. And then it comes back as the Remnant of the Rising Star, which gives a Gruul deck that usually, unless you go into 5 drops with Goldspan, doesn't have access to flyers, but Here on the third chapter, we get Remnant of the Rising Star, which is just a 2/2 flyer when it comes into play. But it has a really nice ability. If you've got nothing better to do and you're just in top deck mode, everything you top deck could be a creature. You play it, and then you just... and even if it's not a creature, but it's one of the, like, sagas coming onto the battlefield as a creature, or even one of the wolves from the ranger class, as long as it's a creature entering the battlefield, you can pay X, and when you do, you put X +1/+1 counters on that creature. So you could potentially, you know, just dump all of your mana into that and make a really big big creature as it enters the battlefield. And then as long as you have 5 or more modified creatures, it becomes a 7/7 with Frample, and that's freaking fantastic and game-ending stuff in and of itself. Then Kodama, giving all of our modified creatures trample, is also another game-ending strategy. Like, you know, at some point you'll have like some 4/4s and some 5/5s thanks to Ranger class, and you know, the counters from the chapter 2 of Jugan. The Oran-Rief Ooze puts counters on things when it enters the battlefield. You know, there's counters going all over the place, and then that means all of your creatures have trample. Ba-boom! And every time one of those creatures does get in for some damage, you will be getting to look through your library for a basic land card and put it into the battlefield tapped and then shuffle, which is quite nice, ramping us up a little bit as well there. And top end, we've got Thundering Raiju and Halana and Alena. I don't think these two need much of an introduction. They've, especially Halana and Alena, has been seeing lots of play in the Naya aggro deck. I might just prefer to go like with full haste and get rid of her altogether, but it is a really good card, of course. So let's see how it performs as a 2/2, and then we'll again adjust along the way as usual. The mana base, I've actually dropped down to 22 lands because it is a very you know, cheap curve, 2.1 average mana value, so we don't really need too many lands. And we do have the ramp from Kodama, from Jugan, and from the Arni, so it's usually it's been absolutely not a problem to go down to 22. I do have 2 dens and 1 Lair, 1 Sokenzan Crucible, and 2 Boseiju who endures, and the rest are just basics and duels. That's my deck. Wham Bam, thank you, ma'am. Let's jump into some games. Ranked. Some H2O. Koala. The wrong spelling. I believe it's with a K. Okay, we just need a green source and we're loving life. Please not. Ah! Whew. It's probably going to get removed, unfortunately, and we don't have the protection, but we've got to pull that burn out of his hand at some point. Aha. Okay, it might just be Talia. No? That sucks. Just talking about how we needed, you know, we didn't really need much land, and then we get, we miss our 3rd land drop, which is terrible. Oh no, okay, okay. Okay. Just forget that happened. Let's just pretend that that never happened. We need to make our land drops. It's pretty important. I'm thinking to cut something, but let's see. The 20... It's... Streamer's curse, guys. It's a thing, I promise you. First game. That's why I always say, when we do get that first game win, it's like, oh, so shocking to me, because I tend to do really well in testing right up until I hit record, and then the first game is an absolute flop from something as simple as not making land drops. But let's try and keep a hand with maybe 3 lands in this time. Yeah. Still no luck. But we've got 1, 2, and hopefully we'll get a third again. I've gone for the doggy. Oh, yeah, here we go. These guys again. Mm-hmm. That's getting, Amis flared. Right away. Nice to draw some more removal there. Buzz off. Buzz off. Ow. Flame Discharge doing its thing. Get an extra land. Let's go with green. Oh. Oh, yes. Oh, baby. That would have been a much better game one. Just watching a Naya Runes brick makes me feel so good. Off you go. Stinky, stupid deck. Cannot wait for the new cards so people just get over that nonsense and try some new stuff. Like I said in the introduction, and I think I don't need to really repeat myself, but I will, because I'm salty. It's one in... I mean, if it's not some version of Mono White, it's Naya Runes. 50-50. This guy, at least, with a... might be a controlled mage. Aha! A 3-land hand. Not the best hand, but I will keep it, because I do want to get... Well, if he's got the Deadly Dispute, let's get him to do it. At least it's over and done with. If he doesn't, then we can grow this next turn quickly. Okay. Was not expecting that. Okay, Rakdos. Rakdos control for sure. Alana and Helena's good. I should have played the Den. That was a huge misplay earlier. But we didn't get too punished for it, fortunately. He'll probably get rid of my ramp here. That's okay. No biggie. We've got the land for Alana. The pity is we don't have a second creature to put the +1/+1 counter on too. Which is quite sucky. Don't mind if I do. Probably... Wonder what he'll go and fetch up. Okay. Some chump blockers. Oh, Jund. I was not expecting Jund at all. Nice. Something different. Ooh. I love it when it's not the same rubbish. Got a little lucky there. He didn't have removal for Alena. I think let's get the den down. And hold up a Tamiyo's. No, sorry. Full send, baby. Now the question is, who do we save? If it's a sweeper, we'll probably save Jugan. Or do we save Alena and Halana? Partners. That is the question. Don't think he can Mitook us. Or 5, yeah, he could definitely Mitook us. Watch it be a Mitook. Okay. I think I'm gonna save my flyer here. It's enough lands now, mate. Thank you. Got the Field of Ruin for the den, so we might as well get in with that damage now while we can. Hopefully no more blood on the snows before we can get one more turn in. And maybe top deck a Thundering Raiju. A little salty, Mr. Lizafane. We're gonna gain 6 life now. Actually, if we order the triggers properly, I'll put the 2 counters on. Let's see. Tamiyo, worth her weight in gold. Salty crack. Little Salt Bay action. I'll take a sip of my water while we wait. Oops. Oops. Why do people do this? It's so childish. I just imagine this little man-child having a tantrum. My sweeper didn't work. It's like, come on, dude. Grow up. First, second, yeah. So, whatever. He's gonna make us wait for this too. I could have put these on there and gained 8 life. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, we almost had the... Oh no, we would have need... Because you can double pump the Den of the Bugbear. For those of you who do not know yet, I have mentioned it a few times on you know, if you've got 8 mana and the Den, you can pay that cost twice, and then it'll make 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens that are tapped and attacking, not 1, which is quite nice. He's at his desk and he's trying to make me annoyed. Now he's like, oh, stalling it even. Okay, now it's my game acting up. Internet seems fine. Yeah, the internet's fine. Don't tell me we got the loss because of that. You have got to be kidding me. Let's see here. Okay, it does appear as though we got the win. I need to verify this because I'll be so bummed. I have got MTG Arena Assistant open in the background. Yeah, we got the win. Oh no, the game just didn't even register. Oh, that's terrible. That's not that's an arena problem. My internet is working perfectly fine. So, interesting. Some server issues causing us to forfeit a match. That's when we clearly won. That's no good. Hey, counts as a win to me. We all know I won that one. Eusebio. Nope. Oh, that's a nice little dude you got there. See, now we can already do 2 damage. Nothing? I like nothing. I'm gonna go a little slower then. Didn't attack because I want to grow my Shambler. That's just great. Oops. Hold up another Flame Discharge, see what he plays now. Looks like the mirror match. Is this the new dude from the new set? Like the, you know, the pet for the new for Streets of New Capenna? It does seem like it. Sweet, man. This guy splurged a bit of money by the looks of things. I haven't used my new sleeves yet because there are no 3-color combos yet for that. This is gonna be great. He might be holding up a Tamiyo's of his own, but I'm gonna attempt it anyway. Imagine we top deck Alena and Halana or a Thundering Raiju, and we can put a counter on Etching of Kumano. Well, that's also really nice. Skadoosh. it's a Vale. Instead of. That's cool. Might have been a bad idea to use that Tamiyo's up, but maximum damage is the name of the game here. Will it be his own Alena and Halana? Aha! Man, this is pretty much a full-on mirror match here. Very nice. A mosquito bite on my toe. It's the worst thing. Go on then. If we get one more land, we might make that dragon next turn. Good game. Nice. That timely removal. It was a pity he had the snakeskin veil there, but it was to be expected, but it was definitely worth a try. And still managed to pull off the win in the end. I went up against 3 mono whites in a row just before I hit record, and I beat 2 out of 3. Which was actually pretty impressive. I was surprised that I managed to pull the wins out of those ones, because the guy had the perfect curve, but seems like I've gotten rid of the mono whites for tonight at least. Eric the Red. Eric the Red one. Is it going to be mono red? Nah, that's a terrible hand. Not that much better, honestly. Oh no. Sweepers. Is it going to be the Esper Walkers or just Azorius control? I think it's probably Esper. If he foretells a Doomscar now. Or is it? Okay, it's Esper. It'll probably be, what's his name? Okay, I was expecting... Still Vanishing Verse here. Let's go with green. Goro-Goro now would be fantastic. This is legendary, which means this costs 1 less, so we can pay 1. Okay. What? Oh, it's not legendary. Pfft, terribly sorry. My bad. Hold up a Kami's Flare here. Here comes a Doomscar. Ready? No? No Doomscar? Oh! Third March of Otherworldly Light in a row. Oh, no, no! Ah, whoops. Oh, that's terrible. That's terrible. That's terrible. What a mistake. I was hoping... Oh, man, that was... That's what happens when you play Magic this late in the night. Okay. That's a new thing to see in this deck. I was not expecting that at all. Ward 3. How do we get around that? It's a disaster. It's the first time I played against that card. At least it's not Esper Walker's, the usual stuff. This is interesting. Cool deck, man. Trying something different and unique. I applaud you, my friend. Can't attack, though. At least that. Well, let's just grow our threats. Not need that to be another land right now. I would definitely have preferred to see a Tamiyo's or something. Wow. Oh, he's gonna sweep the board now. Oh, wow. Nice, dude. So cool. Too bad for you. He gets my little Shambler. Oh, he gets me to discard. That's a fair bit of damage, though. Oh, so close. And we've got Kami's Flare to end the game. Or not. Well, I mean, yeah, we can just attack with the Raiju. Oh no! Oh no! I'm not even mad. That was beautiful. What a deck. Well done, opponent. Hey, cool, man. Esper stuff. That isn't the usual Esper stuff. Junji, Kairi. Nice, 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 nice. Polite clap for the opponent. A lot of misplays on my end, like loads of misplays. If I hadn't Kami'd flared myself, we would have won that one. But we live and we learn. So I was hoping that it would deal damage to him, but it, of course, if you read the card carefully, it says, read the cards, Lone Fox. Read the cards. Okay, so we've arrived at the 45-minute mark. This is the final match of the night. Let's try and end this one on a victory. We've learned a few things about our cards. Let's try and not make some mistakes like that again, please. That was so stupid. I can't believe I did that. Oh my goodness. Slow down. Slow down. Relax. Red land next turn will be fantastic. Wow. Yeah. Hopefully he used up the 3 damage removal in his hand on... Red land. Red land. No such luck. Hold up the Tamiyos, I think, is the play here. Try to race him ever so slightly. We'll gain 2 life. Red land, please. Activate the den? Maybe? Oh no. Yeah, at least we can block the 4-2. Oops. Still no land, huh? Tamiyos, guys. Worth her weight in gold. But alright, we've arrived at the end of tonight's gameplay footage. Getting a couple of nice wins there. Definitely learning a few things about Cammy's flair with a pretty significant misplay there that led to a loss. That game would definitely have been a victory if I'd just been a little bit more careful. But jumping back into the brew, trying to make maybe some of those adjustments that I mentioned in the earlier part of the video. I'm still uncertain. I'm still not certain. I think I need to play it more, but there's something to this. It's nice and quick. I do like it. Maybe this is the way to go. And, you know, something like this. But for now, I'm going to leave it exactly as it is. And I'd love to just hear your thoughts in the comments. But as far as the sort of overall deck review, it's good. It's really good. I wish more people were playing this than just mono white. I guess it's just the mono white shell that we all hate is just a better way of dealing with control because of all the taxation and elite spellbinder and that sort of stuff. So I understand why, you know, it's a game where people want to win. Me too. I hate losing. So you play the deck that's the best. And right now, if you look at best of 1 statistics on pretty much every website that aggregates metadata, it's the decks that are getting the most consistent, reliable victories. And so I don't blame anybody for playing them. I just get a bit bored because I play the game a lot, and when you run up against like 5 or 6 of them every day, non-stop mono white or some variant of, and then Naya runes, it gets a bit dull. But hey, help is on the way. Today is the 14th as I'm recording this, so we are exactly 2 weeks away from the arrival of Streets of New Capenna to Arena. And that is going to shake things up a hell of a load. If you guys have been following my spoiler talk episodes or just watching other people's spoiler content, the set looks to be really, really strong, and it's going to shake things up a lot. And I am, for one, all for it. But yeah, that's going to be it for tonight's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you all tomorrow for some fresh brews. And until then, this is Lone Fox from the BrewLab, signing out. Peace, y'all.